written about some somewhat, I guess some people might consider controversial stuff in terms of the Christian music industry as it is now. Just give us a little insight into your heart, your passion really, you know, about that.
Yeah, I wrote a blog a little while ago. I didn't know that anybody would read it. It was just, you know, one of those, there's lots of blogs that hardly anybody reads. For some reason, that one, everybody started like tweeting about it, and it all of a sudden got all this attention. I'm like, oh. It wasn't ever intended to like bash Christian music, because there's a lot of Christian music that has been very inspiring for us, and a lot of artists and stuff that have really spoken to us and been inspirational to our music. But sometimes just they're in the, like, especially in the American kind of Christian subculture, it's really easy to kind of pretend, or like there's this sheen of like we pretend that everything's okay. It's kind of like this big plastic smiley face, and we kind of separate ourselves from everybody else with a few of these boundary markers. And so anyway, the blog was about that, more like, hey, why are we pretending that, I mean, we're human beings, we're broken human beings, and we're just, as Christians, we believe that Jesus is the hope of the world. And like, it doesn't mean we're not human beings anymore. Let's just be honest, and we don't have to have our music and our everything like pretending that, having that big plastic smiley face. It's all a big sheen, pretending like we're something else. And so it was just kind of a question of like, are you being honest with your work? And some people got upset about it, which is funny to me because I didn't actually call anybody out specifically. I'm like, if you're upset about it, are you not being honest? Like, if you're making plastic fake music, maybe you should address that yourself, because I didn't call anybody else saying that anybody was doing that. But I just think that's something we should be careful of. It's the subculture tends towards that. All subcultures have their own dangers. I think that's a big one for our, you know, evangelical Christian one.
It's true, and it's almost an oxymoron, really, of what the church is supposed to be. We're supposed to be known for our honesty and our integrity and our and justice and all of these sorts of things.
Yeah, like Michael said, it might be more even in the States. I'm not sure, but like here, there's a pub at this big Christian festival. You would be killed in the States. Like, you know, I mean, but it would be extremely. I mean, it's extremely taboo. Like for a lot of the other bands that we've traveled with, people would be shocked to know just like kind of what goes on behind the scenes of, oh, now we're, you know, everyone's going to go out and get a drink together, but you have to hide it. Here, it's completely fine. But there, I know one of the guys that was in our band, he was trying to quit smoking. And so it was like this, and I'm embarrassed to say, we had to have like this rule of like, if you smoke, man, you can't do, you know, you gotta kind of go away from the venue wherever we're at so they can't see you. So he had walked away like behind McDonald's and was smoking, and this woman had just been at our show and she's walking in and sees him, just like shot him this horrible look, and goes in, and he actually confronted her about it. And he said, you know, I couldn't help but notice that you gave, you know, that you were just shot me this horrible look. You know, she was so shocked that he would confront her, you know. And he's like, you know, you were judging me just there in that moment. Do you think that that's Christ-like? You know, he's like, I'm trying to give this thing up. So anyways, this whole thing. So yeah, the whole idea of, well, I don't, if you don't curse and you don't smoke and you don't do all these external things, then it's like that's become what the identity of a Christian is, instead of, no, what is your heart like? Are you truly a follower of Christ? Are you giving up things that you have? Are you serving the poor and the widow and the hurting? And are you keep pouring your life out to other people? All these external things have become the mark of a Christian, rather than what Jesus said is how people would know him, you know. So
well, that's not to say, I mean, of course it should move to the external in our purity and lifestyle of holiness, but the idea is who's attained it yet? Yeah. And you know, we like to pretend that we have, and so we've tried to, you know, speak up against some of that stuff, and try to not let the plastic sheen cover everything that we do, and like, we're human beings like everybody else, you know.
Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. Guys, thanks so much for coming on the program.